Hello dear students, welcome to my channel. We'll continue with chapter number 8, Natural Resources. In the previous video, we have talked about two natural resources, soil and water. We will see about the other natural resources in this video. Let us begin with trees. In the figure 8.6, you can see the persons there are gathering wood. Some individuals are collecting wood from the forest. Similarly, you can see in this particular slide that honey is being collected from the honeycomb. Here you can see rubber latex being collected and resin from the tree is collected. Now this resin is a naturally occurring organic substance. It is like plastic, it is flexible and it is light in weight. Now there are many applications of resin. Naturally occurring resin can be used as insulator, for metal coating, it is used as gum and glue and so on. This plant secretes this resin for the protection. The resin is secreted as a protection and it is beneficial to the plant to protect itself from insect and other pathogens. So rubber, latex, resin, honey and wood, these are some of the things that you get from the trees, from the forest. Now in order to fulfill his needs, man started collecting various products from the plants in the nature. There are various types of plants. As you can see in this slide, various types of plants are there on the surface of the land. Now plants are basically broadly classified into grasses. You can see the grass here. Small, if the height of the plant is small, it is called as herbs. Here are some of the herbs. Lemongrass is a herb. Coriander leaves are herbs. Mint is a type of a herb. Then there are shrubs. Plant little bigger than herbs are called as shrubs. They are medium in height. So these are some of the shrubs that are shown here. A tulsi sapling is a shrub. Periwinkle, as you can see in this picture, is a shrub. So grass, herbs, shrubs and tall big trees. This is how a plant is broadly classified. Now man has successfully experimented with some of the grasses and he has obtained food grain from these grasses. This helped him to avoid painful wandering in the forest searching for food. Otherwise, you know that in the Stone Age time, man used to wander from place to place for his food. But when he started growing food grains, this led to the settled life. He started settling at one place and his life became more comfortable and easy. He was saved from wandering from place to place. Thus began the settled life of man. As you can see in this figure 8.5 of your textbook, some ancient river valley civilizations are shown here. You can see Indus river civilization, which we call as Harappan civilization. Hwanghae river, on the bank of river Hwanghae civilization was there in China. In Mesopotamia also you can see the civilization along the banks of river Euphrates and Tigris, and in Egypt along the bank of river Nile. So man, when the Stone Age man gave up his wandering life and he settled at one place, he began his agricultural activity along the banks of the river because it assured him sure supply of water. So the settlements in the earlier time flourished on the river banks, which we have studied in the standard 5. Now we obtain many things from the forest. We get wood, rubber, resin, fruits, medicinal plants and so many things we get from the forest. If we consider the region from the equator to pole, we'll see different types of forest are there on this earth. Let us see the forest which is there near the equator. It is called as equatorial evergreen forest. Okay, this forest is between 5 degrees north to 5 degrees south. So these equatorial trees are very, very tall. They might be as tall as 30 to 45 meters. And here there is rainfall throughout the year. Plenty of sunlight is there. So all the factors favorable for the growth of the plant are available in this region. So the trees here are very, very tall, and the trees in fact have to compete for sunlight. So you see a umbrella shaped canopy at the top. Example of equatorial trees are equatorial evergreen trees. Example are rubber, mahogany, ebony, rosewood, etc. Then you have deciduous type of forest. Now, in the previous type of trees, I told you they are called as evergreen trees because the leaves here never dry or are not shed at all in any season. But in the deciduous forest, as this forest receives rainfall only for a particular period of the year, the other months of the year are dry, so the trees have to prevent the water from being evaporated. So they will shed their leaves during the cold season and once again regrow new trees in the spring season. Deciduous forest can be seen in India. Example of deciduous trees are teak, sal, sandalwood, amla, etc. Then we have tropical grasslands. Again, these grasslands are between 20 degrees to 30 degrees north and south. That means this grassland can be seen in both the hemisphere. Now this tropical grassland are also called as savanna type of grassland. Here the rainfall is very less, so the trees will be scattered far and wide, but you can see basically tall grasses here. In your textbook you can see grass grows so tall that even an elephant can hide in this tall grass. Now if a tree is seen here, it will be in the form of acacia. Tall grasses will be seen, and here and there you can see some date palm trees. The trees here are fire resistant bark tree and they have water resistant efficiency. The next forest that you can see are the thorny shrubs. These are the desert sort of vegetation, semi-arid and desert sort of vegetation can be seen here. Trees that you can find here are cactus, palm, acacia. Leaves are absent in these trees, but you can see thorns are there. Thorns will prevent evaporation of the water, and trees like cactus, as you can see in this picture, can be seen in the thorny shrubs. Then you have temperate grassland. See, there was tropical grassland and there is temperate grassland. Here again there will be grass, but the grass will not be as tall as the one found in the tropical area. Generally these grasslands are found in the colder areas, colder climate, and trees will be scattered far and wide. Buffalo grass, clover, wild indigos, these are some of the example of the grasses that are found in this temperate grassland. You have mixed forest. Now as the name indicates, mixed forest is a mixture of coniferous forest and other forest. Here the trees that you can find here are oak, beech, birch, maple, spruce, etc. You have broadleaves forest. Okay, you will find the broadleaf forest there. This broadleaf forest have trees like ash, elm, maple, oak, etc. The leaves are broad here. Again, the trees here also shed their leaves in colder season, in the autumn season. Then you have the coniferous forest. The conical shaped trees are seen in this forest like the pine, fir, spruce, cypress, juniper, etc. And then you have those cold areas known as the tundra region, which are covered with snow for almost 8 months of the year. But when the snow melts, you can see some shrubs growing here and there, moss and lichens growing on the land that is available there. So these are the different types of forest that are seen on this earth. Now forest is the habitat of many animals. In fact, many animals live in this forest. Forest is their home. Now animals who eat the plant eating animals also live in the forest. So a food chain is developed in the forest. Grass is there in the forest. Animals eating grass will be there as grass is available, and animals eating those grass eating animals will be also there in the forest. So food chain will be formed in the forest. Now forest or grassland are the habitat of many animals. Now it is basically due to the plants that we have got animals as natural resource. That means as the plant life is available, the animal life is also there, and both plant and animals are natural resources. but animals directly or indirectly depend upon plant for their survival. Now, there are plants which also grow in the ocean, in the water. They are called as marine vegetation. It is very likely that in future, with the growing population, to fulfill the needs of the human population, which is increasing leaps and bounds, we will be depending very soon on the aquatic plants. We might start eating those aquatic plants as our food in near future. This was about trees as the natural resource. We come to animals as natural resource. In figure 8.13, you have seen transportation by a pack animal. That is, goods are loaded on this donkey and it is used to carry these goods. So man has been making use of animals for various reasons. Horse, we know, is used for riding, for pulling a carriage. Oxen also carry heavy goods and pull the carriage. Camel is used in desert region. Ashes are again used as beast of burden. So animals have been employed right from earlier time for ploughing. We have already seen the figure 8.2 where agriculture activity with the help of animals was done. So for ploughing we are requiring animals. Animals are useful for riding, for transporting goods, as you can see in this picture, and we get milk from animal. Animals also provide us with milk, egg, bone powder, hides, etc. We already know what is the use of bone powder. Animal bones are dried, powdered, and it can be used as fertilizer. Now hides means the skin of the animal, and it is used, students, for making leather articles. From the skin of the animal, leather articles are made. So this is the use of animals. We come to the next natural resource, and that is minerals. We get different metals and chemicals from the minerals. Some chemicals are used in producing different medicines also. Minerals are generally classified as metallic and non-metallic minerals. Now metallic minerals are used for obtaining different metals. You can see the mining activity here. A truck is loaded with the rocks and taken to the refinery, taken to the place where the impurities in it will be removed. Now different minerals are used. Iron is a metallic mineral. Bauxite is again an example of metallic mineral, as you can see here. Non-metallic minerals are also used to obtain chemicals. Some of these examples are gypsum, rock salt, and calcite. Now we come to the next natural resource. Things in your kitchen are made up of minerals. If you take the tawa, which is used for frying, which is used for baking your chapati, is also made up of metal. The pressure cooker is made from aluminium. Okay, certain vessel must be having a copper base to it. So all these are the metals that we are using in a kitchen. So the metals are obtained from these minerals. Now we come to the next natural resource, and that is the land. Now land is a very precious, very important natural resource. Living things are born on the land, grow on the land, live, survive on the land, and after their death they again return back to the land. So land is an invaluable resource. That is why it is bought and sold. Now obtaining land at a strategic location, using it for construction as well as trade are some of the uses of these resources. Now depending upon the characteristic of the land, depending upon what the land belong to which physiography, whether it is on the mountain top or near the river or bank of the near the ocean, okay, it is on the sloping area, or whether it is a plain area, the property of the land will depend upon this physiography. Also it depends upon what type of soil is present on that land, what is the climate of that area, which minerals are available there, is the water available in that particular land. So for all this purpose, all this are the important characteristics of land. Now proportion of this land on the earth is 29.20%. Depending upon the characteristic of land and climate, various living things are found on the land in different proportion. Now, the distribution of this living organism, including human, is not uniform. That means some areas, just as the population is more in some area and less in the other area, the living organism are also not equally distributed on this earth. At some places it might be in plenty, at some places it might be found in very less number. All the living things try to adapt to the various geographical conditions like the rocky terrain, steep slope, flat plain, mountainous region, forest area, river banks, etc. And it is because of this adaptability, the changes that they are bringing about in themselves according to the geographical condition helps them to survive in this condition. Man alone attempt to make changes in the prevailing condition to suit his need. The land which was earlier used as forest, maybe man has cleared that forest, cut that forest for his own benefit, for its own use, and on the same land where once forest grew, now he is doing agriculture, or maybe has set up his factories. Okay, so man is making use of this natural resource land according to his needs. However, man has started making various uses of resources for himself alone, because man is one of the cleverest animal on this earth. So using his intellectual power, man is exploiting these natural resources for his own benefit. As the population increases and the greed of the human beings increases, the resources are exploited to a large number. It has led to depletion of many resources, pollution of many resources, and the entire balance of the nature is disrupted, which is not good for the nature, for man also. So it is high time that man realizes his mistake. He should know that natural resources are there to satisfy his needs, but not to fulfill his greeds. So man should make the use of natural resources in as judicial manner as possible.